Our call begins at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. East Coast time. Our pre-call begins at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. East Coast time. Thank you. Or try to. And so you might want to just limit your exposure to mainstream media now and the lies and propaganda. It's going to get even worse. So that includes Fox News, unfortunately. I recommend you could watch Fox News at night, whether it's Tucker Carlson or Hannity or Laura Ingraham, and on the weekends, Jesse Waters and Judge Jeanine, and also on the Fox Business News channel, Maria Bartiromo and Lou Dobbs. Those are really the last of the Mohicans on Fox News right now. Everyone else has seemed to have gone off the deep end and is on board with the whole deep state propaganda. Now, here we are tonight, the 15th of November, and we're a good 2 weeks, well, almost 2 weeks after the November 3rd election, and we still do not have an official winner. And there's just no idea, there's no real, I guess, target date is when we're going to have a president. But I assure you the president will not be Joe Biden. Excuse me. But Joe Biden has still not won anything. This is his third time running for a presidency. He hasn't won a single state yet. Nothing has been certified. He certainly hasn't won the election. Anyone that tells you that Joe Biden won the election doesn't know what they're talking about. And they're listening to the mainstream media. And I don't care if it's your friends or your family. They're not telling you the truth. Not that they're lying to you, but they're listening to the mainstream media, which is lying to everybody. Now, Joe Biden never, ever will win anything. This is his last rodeo, literally. Well, actually, his last rodeo was probably several years ago when he was tried and convicted and executed by the United States military tribunals. But he is a loser, let's face it, and he'll never become a president. He'll never be in charge of anything other than when he was vice president under Obama. And so you can put that to rest, that fear, that concern, that worry is simply not going to manifest. Now, thus far, this 2020 election is nothing more than a totally stolen and rigged election. And now it's up to the patriots to sort it all out, get it resolved, and get the true vote, the legal votes counted, processed, and Donald Trump declared the winner. So obviously that's going to take some time. Now, this stealing of elections has gone on for decades and decades and decades. And we've had a lot of fraudulent leaders elected in the United States and around the world. And right now, the patriots are conducting an operation to put an end to this forever, certainly in the United States. And this is what you have to see as the big picture. This is not just about, as Q said, not just a 4-year election. This is about changing the entire system, exposing the corruption, exposing the perpetrators of that corruption, exposing the people pulling the strings behind the perpetrators who are paying for it, who are orchestrating it. This is what's happening right now. You're seeing this happen now in real time. Now, one of the main tools that the deep state has used for quite some time to steal elections is through voting machines and software. And one of the ones that's being exposed now is what's called the Dominion software. Now think about that word Dominion. It's like all-encompassing. And this is the software that was installed in as many as 29 states. And it was compromised and had what they call a back door. Meaning, you could come in through software, whether online or through a USB drive, and change votes and flip them And this is how Joe Biden suddenly surged ahead late Tuesday night, November 3rd, while Donald Trump was cleaning house. Suddenly, the momentum started to turn, and Joe Biden started to win. That's because they were using this software to flip votes and then dumping off mail-in ballots at locations around the country like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Nevada. So what's happening now is that there are numerous whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork to expose all of it. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of whistleblowers now who have emerged to spill the beans on the whole scandalous, rigged process of voting in America. And like I said, this is the last hurrah for all of this. This is the last we'll have to put up with this, because this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and there's several possible scenarios. The Supreme Court may declare the whole election invalid and just declare Donald Trump the winner. We'll have to see how this all plays out. But and this may actually finally give the excuse to install voter ID laws into the American election system. Now, obviously, this is a mess right now, and there are going to be lawsuits and legal challenges, and there's going to be leaked information. There's going to be people emerging to help tell the truth. And so I just don't see this being sorted out for weeks yet. And I think it could take us all the way up until December 14th at the earliest, which is when the Electoral College is supposed to meet and decide on a winner. So today is the 15th, so that's another month. I'm afraid we're going to have to put up with this. And it could even be longer than that. It could even take us into 2021. We'll have to see. But obviously this is not going to wrap up anytime quickly. There's a long way to go, a lot of chaos to sort out. Now, according to the current election update, as we said to you on Wednesday night, President Trump is ahead with most states, most electoral college votes, and most legitimate votes in history. As Joe Biden and the Democrats and the deep state, with their partners, the fake news media, are committing the greatest fraud ever in history of America. And the election outcome is still unclear amid pending recounts and legal challenges in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. But as it stands now, President Trump is leading 232 votes, electoral college votes, to Joe Biden's 227. But the media, the fake news media, is totally lying to you. They are trying to push Sleepy Joe across the finish line, drag him. There is nothing truthful about the vote count they're giving you. There's nothing truth about winning the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania that they say Joe Biden has won, and even Arizona. And there's a long way to go before this is all said and done. So let's go through the headlines we will review since Wednesday. And we've also heard from Q this week, which is amazing because Q has been silent since the election. And so now we've got some bit of intel from Q to share with you tonight, QAnon. So let's go back to Wednesday, November 11th, when we did our last call. And there's a story that came out. It was about 10:33 p.m., which was near the end, after our call had completed. And it read, "What is Bill Barr going to do? What is Bill Barr going to do?" Bill Barr, the Attorney General. There are a lot of Trump supporters who are very frustrated, even angry, with the silence of Attorney General Bill Barr in the wake of last Tuesday's attempted heist of the presidential election. But there are indications now that William Barr, who understands what it takes to fight the entrenched bureaucracy that is aligned with the conspiracy that involves the media, tech companies, and computer software companies supplying voting machines is preparing to move in a dramatic, far-reaching strike to expose this fraud. Let us start with Barr's contentious interview with Wolf Blitzer. Now, a few weeks ago, William Barr spoke with Wolf Blitzer, and you could see he was visibly angry at one of the questions Wolf Blitzer gave him. And William Barr doesn't really get rattled, or he doesn't really show emotion, but he did this night. And so people are saying this is an indication of where his thinking is right now. Let's go to Thursday, November 12th. Breaking news. Michigan GOP state senators request a full audit of the 2020 election before results are certified. Remember, these states that are in contention, these swing states, the 7 we've been talking about, all are controlled by Republican legislatures. Outsiders with USB and V cards were allowed in Pennsylvania in the counting areas with no observers present. Pennsylvania judge orders segregated ballots should be tossed, but the crooked Pennsylvania Secretary of State says they lacked statutory authority to override election law. So this crooked Pennsylvania Secretary of State is named Kathy Boockvar, and Pennsylvania is another state that's just an absolute mess. The governor, the attorney general, the secretary of state, the whole election system, particularly in the city of Philadelphia and the city of Pittsburgh, are as corrupt as it gets. In Michigan, back to Michigan, GOP challengers were assaulted at the convention center in downtown Detroit trying to protect the vote, according to a Michigan witness. In Arizona, listen to this, folks. The Secretary of State in Arizona, who is in charge of certifying the election results, has called Donald Trump supporters neo-Nazis. Do you think we're going to get a fair assessment from the Secretary of State of Arizona? I think not. Her name is Katie Hobbs. Hobbs is in charge of certifying Arizona's election results. And she said this in a tweet in 2017. President Trump has made it abundantly clear he's more interested in pandering to his neo-Nazi base than being the president for all Americans. I think that disqualifies her right then and there. Special thanks to the New York Times, the Gateway Pundit said, for accidentally providing the data that will bring down Joe Biden and crack the biggest vote fraud in history. The New York Times, thank you for your best piece of real news in years. On Tuesday, we published our report on the widespread election night theft of votes from President Trump to Joe Biden. We obtained an unaudited analysis of data available for all the states looking for system glitches and other oddities in vote counts related to the presidential race only. And guess where they got it? Through the New York Times. Okay, back to Arizona. The Maricopa GOP chairwoman has stepped down after it was revealed she failed to show up to certify the Dominion voting machines. We're going to hear a lot more about Dominion tonight. Meanwhile, President Trump has now gained a really strong ally in attorney Lin Wood. Lin Wood represented the Covington High School students and their lawsuits against CNN, the Washington Post, and NBC News. So Trump attorney Lin Wood says now that the Chinese communists use computer fraud and mail ballot fraud to interfere with our national election. Can you imagine, folks, when the people of the United States find out that China interfered with our election in a very overt and direct way? Trump campaign attorney points to Dominion fraud. Communist China materially interfered with our election. Truth. That's Lin Wood again stating that. Lin Wood on the radio program with Howie Carr. Listen to this quote. Joe Biden and the people like him who have been trying to steal this election will all go to jail. That was Lin Wood, attorney for the president, on November 13th. Then, at 10:49 in the morning, approximately, actually 8:34 in the morning, and then 10:34, the Gateway Pundit reported, President Trump tweets, Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. Data analyst finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switch from President Trump to Joe Biden. And this was a tweet that the president retweeted from Chanel Rion of the One America News Network. And of course, Twitter put a blue exclamation point with the words, the warning label, this claim about election fraud is disputed. Twitter is disputing practically everything the president is saying these days, which is setting up his takedown from Twitter. Now, meanwhile, the chairman of the Federal Election Commission, Trey Traynor, was interviewed, and I want to play you the audio clip from this is a clip of him speaking about the 2020 election. Now remember, this is the chairman, the federal election chairman.
But do you believe there is voter fraud out there, specifically in Pennsylvania and other states that are weighing heavily in on this election?
I do believe that there's voter fraud taking place in these places. Otherwise, they would allow the observers to go in. When you have claims of, 10,000 people who don't live in the state of Nevada having voted in Nevada, you have the video showing where people are, they're either duplicating a spoiled ballot right there, or they're in the process of just marking a ballot that came in blank. For a voter. That's a process that needs to be observed by election observers. State law allows those observers to be in there, and if they're not, then the law is not being followed, making this an illegitimate election.
All right.
Wow. Did you hear that? He actually said making this an illegitimate election. Wow. That's from the Federal Election Chairman, the Federal Election Commission Chairman. His name is Trey Traynor. Okay, let's go back to our news from the 12th or the 13th. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook tells his staff, quote, Joe Biden is going to be our next president. That's because they're ramrodding him through Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube. Meanwhile, the backlash against Fox News now has exploded. And many people now are watching this unfold. So, Fox News crashes and burns after their fake news, their fake polls, their fake predictions of blue wave, and their quick call in Arizona highlight their far-left bias. Fox News is a 21st century media Titanic. Just as the captain of the Titanic has gone down in history bearing a heavy share of the blame for that ship's fateful collision with a rogue iceberg on their maiden voyage, the Rupert Murdoch's spawn are teetering themselves up as reckless buffoons who are driving a once thriving media property into a ratings collapse. Since Fox News fully unmasked themselves as a new bastion of anti-Trump hatred on election day, Tuesday, November 3rd, its conservative base of viewers have fled Fox News daytime lineup. Fox News, like the Titanic, is sinking. Meanwhile, on CNN, Chris Cuomo threatens Republicans, says they are, quote, going to lose way more than the election. This is what these far left radicals are all threatening now to get their revenge. They're going to be eating crow real soon, folks. Now, in Wisconsin, the governor, Tony Evers, is now furious after the Wisconsin Supreme Court tosses out his latest COVID stay-at-home order. The Wisconsin Supreme Court on Thursday tossed out Democratic Governor Tony Evers' COVID stay-at-home order. Now, this is happening, folks, over and over in state after state, whether it's Pennsylvania, California, Michigan. These And if you recall, Chris Miller had some interesting background. He was the information operations in unconventional warfare and irregular warfare. He's was the Assistant Secretary of Defense, and he is now, Christopher Miller is now the acting Secretary of Defense after Mark Esper was fired. So, is the Trump administration now setting things up to go into counterattack mode? And we've seen two key roles, two key people moved out of office, and that being Mark Esper, Defense Secretary, and this Brian S. Ware of the DHS Cybersecurity. And so Q adds this: more coming. Why is this relevant? How do you show the public the truth? How do you safeguard the U.S. elections post-president? How do you remove foreign interferences and corruption and install U.S.-owned voter ID laws and other safeguards? It had to be this way. Sometimes you must walk through the darkness before you see the light. Hugh. Isn't that interesting? That was put out on November 12th. Let's go to Friday, November 13th. A Michigan witness and former state senator witnessed early morning ballot dump of 61 boxes at the Detroit Convention Center. Meanwhile, in Milwaukee, in the state of Wisconsin, elections chief lost elections flash drive in the morning hours of November 4th when Democrats miraculously found 120,000 votes for Joe Biden. Pennsylvania election judge, dozens of blank ballots missing from the end-of-day count at one county precinct on Election Day. In Pennsylvania, again, shocking exclusive, we caught them. Pennsylvania results show a statistically impossible pattern behind Joe Biden's steal. Paul Sperry, reporter for the Washington Examiner, I believe, a pro-Joe Biden bug also suspected in Georgia's vote counting software. You see, folks, it's all over the country. Meanwhile, in Georgia, the recount, only one credentialed GOP monitor allowed for each 10 counting tables in Georgia hand recount. Does this inspire confidence? Now, according to the Gateway Pundit, and based on reports by auditors, IT specialists, data analysts, and statisticians, the number of illegitimate votes identified in 4 swing states are enough to overturn the entire election. In a little over a week, A group of volunteer IT specialists, data analysts, auditors, and more have uncovered enough potential fraud to overturn the 2020 election. Over the past week, groups of professionals have gathered to ensure election integrity was present in the 2020 election. These groups of Trump and America-loving patriots are working on their own time and digging into election data to identify potential evidence of fraud, despite the mainstream media promoting a group of experts claiming this was the most secure election ever. The real evidence indicates a totally different story. Meanwhile, on also the 13th, Friday the 13th, General Michael Flynn retweets an update showing President Trump is still on track to defeat Joe Biden in the Electoral College votes. General Michael Flynn, who rarely sends out tweets, retweeted a tweet consistent with our thinking that President Trump will win the Electoral College votes by, listen to this, 305 to 233. 305 to 233. That's what General Michael Flynn is saying. And folks, that's far more accurate than anything the media is telling you. Meanwhile, several Republican lawmakers on Friday called on Bill Barr to investigate election hardware and software, following reports of unexplainable anomalies and, quote, glitches that ripped votes from President Trump. A gang of Trump supporters who are IT specialists and data analysts identify more than 43,000 ineligible out-of-state votes in key swing states. How about that? Now, in the state of in the state of Michigan on Friday, a rumored 3 p.m. shutdown of Michigan today by Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I don't know if anything happened in Michigan, didn't hear, but maybe some of our listeners know. Meanwhile, on CNN, the horrible, nasty CNN reporter Christine Amanpour on CNN compared the Trump presidency likened to Nazis' Kristallnacht. In other words, Christine Amanpour compared President Trump to a Nazi. And wow, the backlash of her that she got was incredible. Meanwhile, in China offers congratulations and anoints Joe Biden for president. Twitter boasts now of slowing the spread of all information on its platform. Twitter is openly praising themselves for censorship. How about that? This is what it's come to. Twitter has labeled 34% of President Trump's tweets since Election Day as unproven, with a blue exclamation point, a warning on those, a warning label. 34% of President Trump's tweets have been given a warning label by Twitter. Now, in Nevada, the governor of Nevada Democratic Governor Steve Sisolak has now tested positive for the coronavirus. This is one of the guys that's been messing with the election, the governor of Nevada. Now, speaking of the coronavirus, Dr. Anthony Fauci told a United Kingdom think tank, the coronavirus, quote, not going to be a pandemic for a lot longer thanks to vaccines. That's because he's behind one of them called remdesivir. Now, as you know, the mainstream media is trying to curtail the truth. They're trying to really scramble to cover up the truth. And Chris Hayes on MSNBC said something very interesting on Twitter. He wrote, no, this is retweeting of a guy on Twitter that wrote, Joe Borelli, I'll be having more than 10 people at my house on Thanksgiving. My address is a public record. Some family will come from Gasp, New Jersey. Kids will see their grandparents, cousins will play in the yard, sis-in-law will bring strawberry rhubarb pie, and a turkey will be overcooked. And Chris Hayes retweeted that, and he said this, honestly, I don't know what to say. We're all human beings with people we love that we want to see. But increasingly, the entire Republican Party has basically taken the side of the virus and are actively trying to spread it. Now remember, this is a guy just putting out a Twitter post about his Thanksgiving gathering at his house. Do you know what Chris Hayes is really talking about? He's not talking about the virus. When he says, but increasingly the entire Republican Party is basically taking the side of the virus, he's talking about the truth. The Republicans are actively spreading the truth, and he's really nervous about it. Now, President Trump, on Friday the 13th, gave an exclusive interview to Byron York of the Washington Examiner, and he said, never bet against me. Donald Trump outlines a path to a 2020 victory. Never bet against me, President Trump said. Those were Trump's closing words to Byron York in a Washington Examiner interview about the election battle being fought by the Trump campaign. York said that Trump initiated the interview with a phone call. Now, would you bet against Donald Trump? Would you think it's wise to count him out ever? I don't think so. I would not count Donald Trump out. He's a winner, and he's going to win this. You're going to see. Also on Friday the 13th, President Trump held a press conference, and guess what? No yellow hair. And the internet reacts to Donald Trump's new gray hair at a live press conference. It's really something to see him not have the yellow hair or the blonde hairdo. This is at least the second time that we have seen this happen. What's going on with that? It seems like it's a coded message to me. Now, Justice Alito, Chief Supreme Court Justice, came out and said that the COVID-19 pandemic has led to unimaginable, unquote, curbs on individual liberty. This is a Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito saying this. Meanwhile, let's get back to Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci tells Americans, quote, now is the time to do what you're told, unquote. Dr. Fauci says Americans must do what you're told despite your independent spirit. This, Dr. Fauci, has got to go. It's time to flush him down the toilet along with all the other propaganda. But listen to this. Elon Musk, writing on Twitter, said this on the 13th. Something extremely bogus is going on. I was tested for COVID 4 times today. 2 tests came back negative, 2 came back positive. Same machine, same test, same nurse. Rapid antigen tests from BD. I don't know what BD stands for. Perhaps it's the person who gave him the test. Now, then X22 said this. Why would Elon Musk tweet this out? What role is he playing? What is he showing the people? Is Elon Musk exposing the fraud in the coronavirus and all of the testing? Now, let's finish up with amazing information here from attorney Sidney Powell. Now, Sidney Powell was speaking on the Lou Dobbs program on Fox Business News, and that program is on at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and that's 5 p.m. East Coast time. And she had quite a number of bombshells to drop. Let's play this interview with Sidney Powell from Friday the 13th.
Well, joining us tonight is Sidney Powell, a member of President Trump's legal team, General Flynn's defense attorney, a great American and prominent appellate lawyer. Great to have you with us, Sidney. Let's start with Dominion. A straight out disavowal of any claim of fraud against the company, its software or machines. Your reaction?
Well, I can hardly wait to put forth all the evidence we have collected on Dominion, starting with the fact it was created to produce altered voting results in Venezuela for Hugo Chavez, and then shipped internationally to manipulate votes for purchase in other countries, including this one. It was funded by money from Venezuela and Cuba, and China has a role in it also. So if you want to talk about foreign election interference, we certainly have it now. We have staggering statistical evidence. We have staggering testimony from witnesses, including one who was personally in briefings when all of this was discussed and planned, beginning with Hugo Chavez and how it was designed there, and then saw it happening in this country. As soon as the state shut down on election night and stopped counting, those are the states where the most egregious problems occurred. We also need to look at, and we're beginning to collect evidence on the financial interests of some of the governors and secretaries of state who actually bought into the Dominion systems, surprisingly enough. Hunter Biden type graft to line their own pockets by getting a voting machine in that would either make sure their election was successful or they got money for their family from it.
Well, that's straightforward. It may take, you're going to have to be quick to go through and to produce that investigation and the results of it. The December deadlines are approaching for electors, and just as we saw in 2000 with Bush v. Gore, how critical are those deadlines, and how urgent does that make your investigation and discovery?
Well, for fraud this serious, I think even if the states are stupid enough to go ahead and certify the votes where we know the machines were operating and producing altered election results, if they're stupid enough to do that, then they will be set aside by the fraud also. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of votes. President Trump won this election in a landslide. It's going to be irrefutable, and patriots are coming forward every day, all day, faster than we can collect their information with the testimony they're willing to give under oath about how their votes were stolen and how the machines operated. They were updated the night of the election, sometimes after the election. We've got statistical evidence that shows hundreds of thousands of votes being just put in and replicated. It's going to be, there needs to be a massive criminal investigation, and it's going to affect millions of voters and elections.
With these allegations, these charges, is the FBI already carrying out an investigation of these voting companies where their servers are domiciled, and in at least three instances, we know they're in foreign countries? Tell us where the Justice Department is in all of this.
I wish I knew. I'm not on the inside, so I'm not privy to that information. I know that even Democratic senators and congresspeople for years have reported problems with this system to the FBI and to the government, and nobody's done a blooming thing about it. The people in the election security part of the Department of Homeland Security need to be fired yesterday. They're absolutely ridiculous. Of course, Chris Wray needs to be fired too, because the only FBI interview of any witness was to intimidate him and try to get him to change his truthful testimony 4 hours by an anti-Trump FBI agent. They still have politics infecting the FBI instead of just following the law. We are on the precipice of, this is essentially a new American revolution. And anybody who wants this country to remain free needs to step up right now. These are federal felonies. Altering a vote or changing a ballot is a federal felony. People need to come forward now and get on the right side of this issue and report the fraud they know existed in Dominion voting systems, because that's what it was created to do. It was its sole original purpose. It has been used all over the world to defy the will of people who wanted freedom.
Sidney, at the outset of this broadcast, I said that this is the culmination of what has been over a 4-year effort to overthrow this president, to first deny his candidacy, the election, but then to overthrow his presidency. This looks like the effort to carry out an end game in the effort against him. Do you concur?
Oh, absolutely. And it's been organized and conducted with the help of Silicon Valley people, the big tech companies, the social media companies, and even the media companies. And I'm going to release the Kraken.
Well, good, because this is an extraordinary and such a dangerous moment in our history. I really am very concerned for the country. I am very concerned for all Americans. And I have a feeling that most Democrats are first Americans and not Democrats. They have to be as alarmed as any one of us. Sidney, we're glad that you are on the charge to straighten out all of this. It is a foul mess. And it is far more sinister than any of us could have imagined, even over the course of the past 4 years. You get the last word, Sidney.
It is indeed a very foul mess. It is farther and wider and deeper than we ever thought, but we are going to go after it, and I am going to expose every one of them.
Sidney Powell, thanks for being with us, and thanks for all that you're doing. We appreciate it. A great American.
There you go. That was Sidney Powell. I'm going to release the Kraken. That means going to release the hounds, going to go after the criminals, going to go after the deep state. She says, I'm going to expose every one of them. Don't you just love it, you guys? Isn't that fantastic to hear this from President Trump's attorney, Sidney Powell? Awesome American, awesome attorney. Now, we'll talk more about Sidney Powell in just a bit. So, we heard from Q on Friday the 13th as well. It was Q Update 4952. One word message from Q. Durham. Q. So what does that mean? Is that John Durham, the special investigator hired on October 28, 2017 by Jeff Sessions? There's been a lot of rumors that John Durham was going to be issuing indictments. We've seen nothing so far. What's going on? We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But CJ Truth on Twitter said, deep state panic. And a picture of Barack Obama looking through a keyhole, and guess who's on the other side? It's John Durham. Now, let's go to Saturday, November 14th. Election witnesses say Kanye's Michigan votes were stolen by Joe Biden. Arizonans call for recount audit of votes at a state capitol rally. Arizona GOP files a lawsuit demanding hand count audit of votes by precinct rather than voting centers. In Georgia, the difference in President Trump only ballots between President Trump and Joe Biden is statistically impossible. Indicates obvious election fraud. The Democrats pulled out all the stops in the 2020 election in states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and more. We've uncovered another simply impossible result in Georgia that statistically indicates fraud. So they're just, the numbers, folks, do not add up in many of these states. Clearly fraud. Georgia poll watcher, an IT expert and non-Trump supporter, affidavit says a sudden surge of 20,000 mail-in votes for Biden in the early hours of November 5th, while approximately 1,000 votes for Donald Trump just completely disappeared. A new report says an anti-Trump Dominion voting system security chief, get this, was also participating in Antifa calls and posted Antifa manifesto letter to Donald Trump online. Eric Coomer joined the Dominion as vice president of U.S. engineering in 2010. And according to his bio, Coomer graduated from the University of California, Berkeley with a PhD in nuclear physics. So here you have a clearly biased member of the Dominion software company. Meanwhile, this report, I know in Venezuela elections are like this. It was stolen. Michigan Observer says I saw a 3:30 a.m. Biden ballot dump of illegal votes. Folks, how do you like this? Venezuela, Cuba, China, all involved in our election. And you're going to hear more foreign countries as well. We caught them part 2. Email inventor Dr. Shiva finds same impossible ballot ratio feature in Michigan results. We caught their fraud in our post on Friday night, according to Gateway Pundit. Our first of many revealed how they stole the battleground states. The fix was in. The current results of the presidential election in Pennsylvania reported to the public are fraudulent because they are close to statistically impossible. Now, all the way back in 2019, top Democrats raised concerns about the Dominion voting technology, but of course they're fine with it now. In 2019, Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Congressman Wyden issued a complaint against Dominion voting systems. How about that? Now, yesterday, President Trump, there was a rally for the president called Stop the Steal, peaceful protest in every state capital. That was on Saturday, November 7th, and it continued yesterday with a big rally in Washington, D.C. to show support for Trump. Massive crowds march in D.C. to show support for Trump, demand election integrity. Trump supporters in Washington, D.C. chant, Fox News sucks, at a Stop the Steal march and rally. Meanwhile, there was a lot of violence at these rallies. Stabbing reported in D.C. as the Proud Boys and Antifa clashed in the streets of the nation's capital. Trump supporters were hit with eggs and some unknown liquid. And in fact, there was even more that was going on with the police. D.C. police blocked off Trump supporters and forced them to walk through Black Lives Matter mob where they knew they would be attacked. Now, remember, the mayor of Washington, D.C. is very corrupt, Mayor Muriel Bauer. Now, according to Andy No on Twitter, there was a lot of violence today against attendees of the Million MAGA March. And then, at the end of the night, a large crowd gathered at the Willard Hotel outside and sang the American national anthem. Now, according to the Epoch Times, election fallout reveals the battle between freedom and communism, a choice that transcends the political right and left. Now, a leading Catholic exorcist says signs of demonic oppression and possession are in unhinged American left. Amazing. Now, you're not going to believe this, but Joe Biden is putting together his cabinet. And guess who he's considering for the ambassador to the United Nations? None other than Hillary Rodham Clinton, if you can believe it or not. Now, meanwhile, we told you about Chris Miller, the acting defense secretary appointed by President Trump. He now is hinting that the U.S. troop withdrawal is time to bring all the troops home. President Trump is ending all the endless wars. But, of course, Joe Biden and the Democrats want to keep them going. Now, this article came out last night from the Gateway Pundit. Get ready. The show is just starting. Democrats rigged the voting machines they attempted to steal, and they got caught. The fireworks are just getting started. The Democrats are in a panic. President Trump has the upper hand. We are seeing several signs that the Trump legal team is aware how the election was stolen for Joe Biden. Attorney Lynn Wood, tweeted today that he has seen the evidence of fraud in the computer voting system. Since I delivered these remarks on November 6, I have seen overwhelming evidence that massive fraud was in the computer voting system in addition to mail-in ballots. They will not get away with it. So he was talking, Lynn Wood, at a Georgia rally, and Georgia GOP officials hold a press conference as votes continue to be counted. This was on November the 6th. And let me play you a little bit of this speech from Lynn Wood in Georgia from November 6th. Okay? Let me just cue this up here for you. Here we go.
So with that being said, we have been able to bring someone into the fold. And I'm talking about someone who's probably has one of the most brilliant minds, legal minds, in this country. Yes. If you think I'm lying, ask CNN. And some of those others who attack everyday people and try to destroy their reputation and change their lives forever. Y'all join me in bringing in a fighter who's fighting for you, for Georgians, and this president. Y'all welcome Lynn Wood here.
Right back. I love you too if you're not behind the camera and remember the media. How you doing? I was sitting around Tuesday night watching the election returns. I've loved politics all my life, since I first voted in 1972. And I saw what I assumed was going to happen. I saw President Trump building up what I believed was going to be almost a historic landslide victory.
It was.
And then all of a sudden, every network, including Fox News, started doing what they do best. They started lying to the American public. And they took a victory from Donald Trump and they called it a lie. They took a defeat from Joe Biden and lied and said he won. And they sent you to bed, turning off the count of the vote so you could wake up the next morning like I did and go, what happened? What happened? When I was asked by President Trump to help him in Georgia and perhaps in other places around this country, I said yes. And former Governor Perdue asked me to help him, and Vernon Jones asked me to help, and the Republican Party asked me to help. I said the same thing I said when Nicholas Salmon asked me to help him. I said the same thing I said when Kyle Rittenhouse asked me to help him. I said yes, because there is a cloud over this country. And if we don't get it right and we don't figure out what happened that night, that cloud is going to get darker and darker until it turns into a storm cloud, and we're going to lose our freedom. So it is time to fight back. I've heard over the past several months, maybe a little bit longer, they've almost neutered the word. Well, it's a constitutional crisis. This is a constitutional crisis. Let me tell you, this is a constitutional crisis. And if we don't fix it and find out what happened and get it right, we're going to lose our constitutional rights. I've been watching for some other clients. 43 years of practicing law, I never dreamed the day would come when I would be in the United States of America and there would be censorship. If they take away your right of free speech, what are they going to take away next? Where they limit your right to go to church, what are they going to take away next? When they take away your First Amendment, they're going to come after your Second Amendment. And then they're going to take away your due process. And then they're going to put you in jail because you're a dissenting voice to the ruling elite, and you're not even going to a jury trial. They're going to take away your constitutional rights. This is a constitutional crisis.
Okay, so that was Attorney Lynn Wood speaking in Georgia, the attorney for President Trump. Now, let me go back to this article that I was just reading. Again, the article is entitled, "Get Ready, the show is just starting. Democrats rigged the voting machines they attempted to steal, and they got caught." And Sidney Powell claims that she has seen the information on the Dominion voting machines, and it's staggering. Michael Flynn attorney Sidney Powell says she has staggering statistical evidence and a testimony to show Dominion voting machines altered ballots. That was a tweet put out by Laura Logan. President Trump retweeted a Glenn Beck video where an expert on the Dominion voting machines talked about the ability for these machines to be able to change a vote after it was entered in the machine. They can essentially ingest and then record something differently than what was originally read. It should have never been there in the first place. So let me play you this audio from Glenn Beck and this computer expert, Jeff Brown, speaking about the voting machines. This is a very short clip here. Okay, here we go. Let me find this clip here. Pardon me. Okay, here it is.
I wanted to know if you can shed any light on the voting process in these voting machines. How hard is it to throw an election like this?
Well, there are some very obvious areas of concern here in terms of how these systems have been implemented and used. You hit on a great point. There should be no reason within 24 hours of an election to be downloading new software to machines in the most important election that only happens every 4 years. We should have figured that out beforehand. Clearly, that's an opportunity to manipulate outcomes. The Dominion machines also had the ability to change the vote after the ballot had been ingested by the machine, which is yet another point of potential failure or manipulation.
Wait, what do you mean they had the ability to change the vote?
They can essentially ingest and then record something differently than what was originally read.
Okay, hang on. I'm trying to think of the consumer benefit out of that. Why would that be a feature in this, or is it a bug?
That's precisely the point. It should have never been in there in the first place. Machines like this that speak to the integrity of our voting and election process, they should be fail-safe.
Okay, so that was Glenn Beck with computer expert Jeff Brown speaking on the Blaze TV. And so let's go back to this Gateway Pundit interview or this article and finish it up here. Now, others on Twitter are reporting this as well. I'm actually hearing that there are 3 whistleblowers that are coming from Dominion Software. And then John McLaughlin on Twitter wrote, maybe this is why President Trump tweeted out a retweet of the Gateway Pundit report from Tuesday. We were the first to report that millions of ballots had either switched from President Trump to Joe Biden or were lost. So President Trump retweeted this article, breaking exclusive analysis of election night data from all states, shows millions of voters either switched from President Trump to Biden or were lost using Dominion and other systems. So, finishing up this article, what if we had more evidence of voter fraud in the 2020 election that would back this up? Stay tuned. Now, on the Natural News, they put out this article yesterday. Bill Barr is about to drop the hammer on voter fraud. So we'll see what the Attorney General was about ready to do. Now, let's go to Sunday, November 15th. And the headlines. Exclusive. Hillary attorney Mark Elias was behind not one, but 2 actions messing in Georgia's election. We caught them, part 3. Same impossible ballot ratio is found in Milwaukee. Results change Wisconsin election. 30,000 votes switch from President Trump to Joe Biden. WikiLeaks says that Soros-leaked voting machines now used in most battleground states were used to rig the 2004 Venezuela elections. Sidney Powell says that the Smartmatic voting machines chairman of the board, Peter Neffenger, is now named to Joe Biden's, quote, transition team. Now, despite the fraud, at least 12 U.S. seats have flipped to Republican in the 2020 GOP landslide, and many of them are women that have taken these seats in the Congress. Meanwhile, CNN's Jack Taper says to Dr. Fauci, they've already tried to cancel Thanksgiving, and Dr. Fauci now says Christmas is probably not going to be possible. So we're canceling Christmas now, too. Dr. Fauci is canceling Christmas this year. What a Scrooge he is. Now, today, on Maria Bartiromo in the Sunday morning edition, President Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani says election will be overturned. We have proof. I can't disclose it yet. Listen to Rudy Giuliani today speaking to Maria Bartiromo.
Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And I have a graphic showing the states where they stopped counting, which I thought was also strange to stop counting in the middle of election night. One source says that the key point to understand is that the Smartmatic system has a back door that allows it to be, that allows the votes to be mirrored and monitored, allowing an intervening party a real-time understanding of how many votes will be needed to gain an electoral advantage. Are you saying the states that use that software did that?
Well, I can prove that they did it in Michigan. I can prove it with witnesses. We're investigating the rest. In every one of those states, though, we have more than enough illegal ballots already documented to overturn the result in that state. Because not only did they use a Venezuelan company to count our ballots, which almost should be illegal per se. Number 2, they didn't allow Republicans in key places to observe the mail vote. That makes the mail vote completely invalid. Now, they didn't do it everywhere. They did it in big cities where they have corrupt machines that will protect them, meaning in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh, in Detroit. They didn't have to do it in Chicago and New York or Boston. They could have. They have corrupt machines there. They did it absolutely in Phoenix, Arizona. They did it absolutely in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Republicans were shut out from enough of the count so they could accomplish what Smartmatic wanted to do. And that pattern that you have there, we have evidence that that's the same pattern Smartmatic used in other elections in which they were disqualified. In other words, this is their pattern of activity. And yes, there is a backdoor, and we actually have proof of some of the connections to it. Right now, our cases are the most developed in Pennsylvania and in Michigan. But we already have enough affidavits from people who were pushed out of being able to observe. So in each one of the states that he lost narrowly, he won those states probably by 2-3%. I mean, it's
Rudy,
a terrible thing that happened
before we go. Do you have the Dominion hardware in your possession? Do you need to have that hardware in your possession to prove it? Can you prove the case without the hardware or the software?
We have people that I can't really disclose that can describe the hardware in great detail. We have some of the people, former government employees, our government employees and others that were there at the creation of Smartmatic. They can describe it, they can draw it, they can show it. And then we have proof that I can't disclose yet. But I'm confident that
Go ahead.
And this has to be examined, Maria, beyond this election, which I believe will get overturned. But beyond this election, this whole thing has to be investigated as a national security matter. And the governors who gave contracts to this company never bothered to do any due diligence. I mean, I can't imagine you would give a contract to a company if you went one step further and found out it's really being run by people that are close to Maduro and Chavez. I can't imagine you would do that unless you're out of your mind.
So you only have a few weeks, Rudy, because they want to certify the state elections early December. Do you believe you will be able to prosecute and be heard within this time frame?
Of course. And I can't imagine how a state legislature can certify based upon ballots where we had no opportunity to inspect, and it was done deliberately. I mean, the fact that it happened in all those states, right, tells you it was a plan. The crooked Democratic leaders in those 10 or 12 places where we were shut out didn't all develop that idea by themselves, right? They didn't have the same dream that night. This is a plan. This is maybe the plan Joe Biden was talking about. He's got the best voter fraud plan in the world. Well, he has a really good one, but lucky we caught it.
Wow. All right, Rudy, we're going to be following your investigation. Thank you very much for breaking all of this news on this program this morning.
Please, you may be the only one following it, because we're also enduring a lot of censorship. A lot. Almost complete, like we're not in America.
Unbelievable. Rudy Giuliani, we'll keep on it. Promise you that.
Okay, so that was President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Well, guess what? Sidney Powell was on the same program today, Sunday. She drops a bomb on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. She says that the CIA may have used the Dominion software for its own benefit. Gina Haspel, the CIA director, should be fired immediately. And then listen to this. Sidney Powell said, "We're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states." Sidney Powell releases the Kraken again. Now, the interesting thing about Sidney Powell is she has been a character that's been around now for a while. And people were sort of trying to look at Sidney Powell and how she fits into all of this. And she had put out a tweet back on June 2nd, 2013, and she wrote, "Decoding Annie Parker stars, Helen Hunt, Samantha Morton, Aaron, Maggie, and Grace, a fabulous cast." And some are wondering if Sidney Powell is a star in this movie we are watching. She was born, guess where? Durham, North Carolina. Now that adds intrigue, doesn't it? And she was a member of the Fox Partners, that's FAWKES, Fox Partners LP, was the name of Sidney's investment group. Guy Fawkes was represented in the movie V for Vendetta which has loads of similarities to current events and was set in the year 2020. As Q says, how many coincidences will it be until it's mathematically impossible? Now, also out today, a report says that John Durham is dropping his investigations into Spygate. And he's, quote, worried about blowback from Joe Biden. Well, someone on the 8kun message boards said, John Durham is a boogeyman, which is why he can't be stopped. Lower attack surface if no one individual to attack. And another Anon wrote, there is no Durham. It's a cover for classified hearings. In other words, grand juries. And another Anon still wrote, go find anyone with a public-facing career at the level who has virtually no trace, no pictures from childhood, no family reports, just 5 or so pictures that all surfaced recently. Think photo op of him walking to his car, shopping for groceries, at family and friends. There is almost no evidence that this man exists. How do you attack a target that doesn't exist? There is nothing that can stop what is coming. So in other words, folks, is John Durham just a myth that the Patriots are using to scare the deep state perpetrators? Interesting. Now let's close it out here with a few things. Our intel. I've got some other things I want to share with you. Now this is a report that came out from Natural News. Mike Adams on Natural News. A bombshell. The 2020 election took place under a Trump-declared, quote, national emergency, unquote, that set an election day trap for unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure. So let me read you this article. The story begins with the little-known executive order signed into existence on September 12, 2018 by President Donald J. Trump. That order, available at the White House website, is entitled Executive Order on Imposing Certain Sanctions in the Event of Foreign Interference in the United States Election. In that executive order, which almost no one has covered since the day it was signed, President Trump declares a national emergency. That emergency is still in play to this very day. And the 2020 election was conducted under this state of emergency, which is a crucial point to understand what's coming next. Now, President Trump put out this executive order on September 12, 2018, and you can find this on the White House website. Executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the United States election. Now, back to the article. In the EO, the executive order, President Trump also states that people and organizations located in part outside the United States are known to be able to, quote, interfere in or undermine public confidence in the United States elections, including through the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation. If you're starting to see how this ties into CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and MSNBC, you're not alone. All those organizations, as you'll soon see, have been caught under this emergency declaration of, quote, foreign interference, unquote, in the U.S. elections aided by complicit corporations on U.S. soil. The EO further states that the foreign interference in U.S. elections, quote, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Why is this relevant to anything we're seeing right now with the massive election fraud carried out by the Democrats in the deep state? Because Dominion Voting Systems is a Canadian company. And Cytel, which is run out of Spain. That's right. Dominion is a foreign-owned company which makes Dominion-based election theft a foreign interference issue. Cytel, by the way, is connected to George Soros and the Democrats, and according to the Gateway Pundit, Bill Gates also owns stock in Cytel. So another voting machine company called Cytel, also widely based in the U.S. elections, is located in Spain. A Great Game India reports, days after it was revealed how 2020 U.S. elections were rigged by Canadian Crown agent Dominion voting systems through a so-called glitch, now Great Game India has found involvement of another dubious foreign company in the U.S. meddling. The votes cast by Americans were counted by a bankrupted Spanish company, Cytel, in Spain. Like the Dominion voting system, Cytel has a long history of election fraud in various nations, including injecting backdoors in its election software. The issue has prompted experts to question why the sensitive job of counting votes was outsourced to a foreign company. How could a bankrupt Spanish company count American votes in Spain? Due to such widespread fraud, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Election Commission, Trey Traynor, believes that the 2020 U.S. presidential election is illegitimate. What people are missing in all of this is that Trump's 2018 executive order gives the DOJ the power to seize all the assets of individual companies that were complicit in aiding and covering up this foreign interference in the U.S. elections. The national emergency order specifically calls for seizure of all assets of entities that have directly or indirectly engaged in sponsored, concealed, or otherwise been complicit in foreign interference in the United States election. That, of course, have to include practically every CNN fake news anchor, every big tech CEO, every fake news journalist, terrorist from NBC News, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. They are all complicit in gaslighting America and covering up the massive foreign election interference that just took place. Trump's executive order further explains that the asset seizure shall target people and entities which have materially assisted, sponsored, or provided financial, material, or technological support for, or goods and services to, in support of any activity described in subsection A and I, of this section of any person whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to this order, or III, subheading or a footnote here, to be owned or controlled by or have to have acted or purported to act on behalf of, directly or indirectly, any person whose property or interest in property are blocked pursuant to this order. In other words, folks, this executive order covers every single person who has been corrupted or compromised by communist China. And that includes 80% of Democratic lawmakers by our estimates, including Senators Dianne Feinstein and Adam Schiff. Wow. So that executive order, folks, they anticipated this. So in other words, the Patriots knew this was going to happen. President Trump anticipated writing the executive order, and now all of these companies and Democrats are caught and they can seize their assets. Now, guess what? So the U.S. military raided a company in Frankfurt, Germany, connected to Dominion and Cytel, and seized their servers. This happened on Thursday, November 12th. Now, there's more. Now, there's been a precedent now. Now, let's get into some legal talk here just briefly. So we just covered the executive order. Now let's go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled in a landmark case, United States versus Throckmorton, 91 U.S. 61, Supreme Court, 1878, the year 1878, that fraud vitiates everything, unquote. By categorically asserting that fraud vitiates everything, the Supreme Court affirms that perpetuating fraud undermines the entire endeavor, the whole contract, the complete judgment, the final result, or the election outcome, etc. Once the fraud is proven, and they have all the evidence, folks, the enterprise in its entirety, such as the president's candidacy, has been irreparably tainted and the result invalidated. In other words, it was only the Michigan vote was stolen by Team Biden. Their victory still would have been nullified since fraud vitiates everything. Now, vitiates is a legal context term which means negates, quashes, annuls, invalidates, revokes, and abrogates. President Trump is therefore the victor of the 2020 presidential election by default, by law, according to the U.S. Constitution. Now, this is what's going on, folks. This is all of the different dynamics. Now, so Intel came out yesterday, and here we are at the end of the day on Sunday night, and this was released, I believe this was yesterday, and this came from an anon posted on the 8kun message board. So take this with a grain of salt. An 8kun anon claims, quote, orders to execute military operations have been written and are sitting on the president's desk. Okay? Tomorrow is going to be an absolute effing, storm. You're going to want to screenshot this so this board can say it broke here. Orders to execute military operations have been written and are sitting on the president's desk. He is aware that it is waiting for him, and his decision to sign will be at his own pleasure. The mainstream media has two paths it can choose. They are now aware the only path to prevent capital punishment is the one that doesn't turn the people against the president. Events over the last 24 hours have confirmed to them that the U.S. military is in possession of convicting evidence. This storm, however, is actually with COVID. Governors, Democrat governors around the country are sealing their states again, impacting Thanksgiving largely. Look to Oregon for a main basis on the subject. Watch Operation Warp Speed press conference again and reconcile. Oh, and the world now knows that Angela Merkel helped Joe Biden, quote, win the election. World War III level information, Anons. Good luck. You're going to need it. Now, take that with a grain of salt. But let's finish up with a couple of things here, our intel portion of our program. Let's review what we know. We'll come back to this. I want to finish up here with a video, and I'll finish up with this report. I'm going to go and play Jesse Waters from last night. Now, Jesse Waters did a great opening monologue, and I want to play that for you now about the whole election. And Jesse Waters, I think, is one of the best ones on Fox News at this time. Here we go. This is Jesse Waters last night on Fox News.
Trump's closing hard. That's the subject of tonight's Waters' words. Last Saturday, we told you the tide was turning in the campaign. Trump recovered from the virus and restarted his rallies. Pence crushed Kamala.
Okay, folks, I'm sorry. I uploaded the wrong video. Let me find that, and we'll play that at the end of our program. Now, let's go back here, and I apologize. I'll come back to that video as soon as I can get the correct one uploaded. My apologies. Let's finish up with a couple of things here. We'll come back to Jesse Waters. Now, that Jesse Waters was an older program. I don't want to play you that. I want to play you the newest one. Let's review what we know thus far about the storm. Number one, a group of very evil people called the Deep State or the Cabal have been running the planet in every country and major institution and the banking system behind the scenes for centuries. Number two, The goal was, always has been, and still is one of a world government with every human enslaved to a digital technology, enforced through a one world police force, while all force vaccinated and poisoned so each slave can be easily controlled. Number 3, virtually every branch of the U.S. government has been infiltrated, Democrats especially so. And the plan included the nuclear destruction of the USA at the end of what would have been Hillary Clinton's second term. Our U.S. military asked Donald Trump to run, number 4. This is number 4. Our U.S. military asked Donald Trump to run for office to stop the overthrow of the USA and return America to the people by removing the evildoers and their words and works, the swamp, and restoring control of America to the people. Number 5, because mainstream media has been taken over by the deep state, there needed to be a back channel of communication for President Trump in our military to talk with the people, now called Hugh. The invisible enemy that President Trump has referred to is the deep state and every aspect of their evil, including human trafficking, child sex, and child satanic torture and murder by very powerful elite. Names we've all heard and know. Number 7, President Trump has been rooting out the evil ones in government and elsewhere during the first 4 years of his presidency to set the stage for the arrest of the traitors and Satanists who plan to annihilate the USA during his next 4 years as president. Number 8, the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, was launched to create mail-in voting scheme to try and fraudulently oust President Trump, since they knew the Democrats would never win on their own. This is called a false flag. Number 9, Joe Biden said he would not claim victory until the mainstream media claimed it for him. Mainstream media is now lying to the entire nation with their pronouncement that Biden won. Number 10, here comes the important stuff. Number 11, at some point in time, it will become obvious that President Trump won the election. A point of no return. When that happens, the deep state will unleash hell on America in the form of riots, shutting down social media accounts, censorship, saying that Trump will not concede, etc., etc., etc. Number 12, President Trump has a plan to take them all down. This is their last stand, their last hope of survival, of enslaving us all, and they will unleash everything they have onto us. So be ready for that. Number 13, at some point in the media time frame, it is highly likely that President Trump will tweet, "My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us." And at that time, he will probably be deleted off of all of major social media platforms as this deep state continue their coup to overthrow the United States of America. Many of us will likely be booted off social media, or social media may simply go offline to ensure even more chaos. Our U.S. military have told us they will never allow another deep state operative to be president. Joe Biden will never be president. It is incumbent upon you to, number 1, pray. Number 2, support President Trump through this all. Number 3, stock up on everything. And number 4, know what you will do if communication is cut. Next, at some point, we expect President Trump to either be on Air Force One or in a secure location where we use the emergency broadcast system to communicate with us. Be sure to drop what you're doing and listen. There's also talk of a currency reset in January. It would not be a bad idea to buy some silver. The more prepared we all are, the better it will be for everyone. We especially need to talk with those who believe in the lies of fake news media and the Democratic establishment and their enablers. God help us all. Now, as we have learned tonight, talking with Sidney Powell, they're unleashing the Kraken. Now, what is this going to entail is going to be something we have yet to know, we have yet to see. But nonetheless, it's really happening now, folks. And we just have to wait and see how this all plays out. Now, as I look for this Jesse Waters video to play you tonight, I'm hoping that I have it here somewhere. But in the meantime, I'll just sort of talk a little bit more about where we're at. So we're uncovering election fraud. We're seeing this happen now in a major way. Many, many whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork. I mean, it is something to behold, I must say. And every day there's more and more and more. So I expect this to continue on through the rest of this month. I don't know when this is all going to be resolved, but nonetheless, we can expect that eventually President Trump is going to be declared the winner of the election. Now, let me see if I can go ahead and play you this, Jesse Waters, and I'm going to go ahead and bring Maria Love onto our program. Maria, I'm going to switch over here in just a minute, but in the meantime, while I get this together here to upload, will you tell us, do we have any questions that have come in?
Let me check here again. Okay, one person says, I heard that all paper for election ballots was marked with a watermark and an isotope sensor that shows on the legal ballots that President Trump won by 80% of the legal votes. If this is so, why not show these numbers to the Supreme Court and be done with the lawsuits and recounts? This is from
because you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point of why this is happening. It's not happening for you. It's happening to wake up the American people. This is a military operation to uncover election fraud and to educate the people, to red pill the people. And if you're not getting that, then you're missing the point. Yes, they could wrap this up. They could say, okay, let's just fix this and let's get this all taken care of, but that's not the point. The point is to uncover it so that they can fix the corrupt election system forever. And this is what you need to understand. You're not looking at this at the big picture, okay? And there's much more to the story than just Donald Trump winning the election. That's not the point. There's much more to this than meets the eye. So Donald Trump winning a second term is just a part of the plan. Remember what Q says. This is more than a 4-year election. This is about educating the people. This is the Great Awakening. This is the Great Awakening to break the mind control, the programming, the hypnosis, everything that's been going on for so long, and to wake up the American people, because that's what's going to change everything. So I hope that you understand that this is more than just getting Donald Trump his second term. That will happen. But there's much more going on than just that process. There is an important element to the storm, and that's to tear the whole corrupt system down. So please be mindful of the big picture. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and I'm going to play this Jesse Waters video, which I intended. I just uploaded it, and we'll come back to the questions, Maria. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The tide is turning. That's the subject of tonight's Waters Words. This was the week that changed the race. President Trump is on course for re-election just if he can maintain this momentum. A confluence of events.
I'm so sorry, folks. I'm having trouble finding the right video tonight. I seem to have the wrong one loaded up. So let's go back to our questions, and if, we'll have to play that on our Wednesday program because I do not seem to have the right video. So my apologies. I wanted to end that program tonight. So we'll go back to our Q&A. We'll open up our queue, and I apologize for that, but we'll catch that clip again on Wednesday night since I seem to have trouble finding it, the correct one tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and go into our Q&A mode.
Q&A session has started.
Again, I'll ask you to accept my apologies for that clip, and we're going to just go right to your questions. And we'll take your questions now, and we'll also come bring Maria Love back on. Maria, please come back and rescue me here with some questions, and we'll also take our email questions. Have you got anything else for us?
Let's see, there's just one question and there's a comment. This is from Christy. When Pompeo mentioned a while back at the National Governors Association that he knows your names, with the Dominion scandal coming out now, will there be more governors being involved, prosecuted?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The governors and the mayors probably in some of these cities are complicit in the stealing of elections, but this has been going on for decades and decades. This is nothing new, folks. This is not just happening in 2020. This has been going on for a long time. Stealing votes. This is why we have corrupt politicians like Nancy Pelosi who are in for 60 years and makes $120 million net worth. Why Maxine Waters keeps getting reelected and reelected. This is the corrupt voting system that is now being uncovered and is now being addressed like we've never seen before. So yes, definitely these governors are going to be held responsible. These governors and mayors and anyone else involved in this, you're going to see arrests like crazy. Okay? Okay, Maria, have you got some more questions?
I just have a comment. I don't have too many questions. Well, they're starting to come in. There's a comment from Karen A., and she says, months ago when Sidney Powell left the courthouse with General Flynn, she wore a cobalt blue dress with a huge white Q on the top of her dress.
Yeah, I do remember that cobalt blue dress. I don't recall seeing the Q on there, so that's worth looking up. Thank you, Karen. We'll have to look at that photograph, and if you haven't, send it to me, Karen. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go, while you get some more questions, I'll open up the queue and see what we got tonight. First up is 0612.
Hello, I wanted to mention a few things. Maybe somebody else knows which state it was, where 103% of the population voted.
Hello, what's your name?
Oh, my name is Joan.
Okay, Joan, go ahead. What's your comment? What's your question?
Well, the comment was that, and I didn't write it down foolishly. I should have. I never thought it was going to come to this. I thought Trump was surely winning. But one of the states actually registered as 103% of the people voting. And I said to myself, what? And then I knew something was wrong that day. And in another place, they said, excuse me, they found people that actually bragged that they threw Trump votes out to help Biden win, bragging online as poll keepers. Now, why aren't these people thrown in jail? That I don't get. But, like you said, it's a whole big fix, and it'll all come out in the wash.
Yeah, we covered both of those subjects on our last call. We talked about all the states that had more than 100% participation, as well as people who reported they threw out Trump votes. So we've covered both of those topics, but yes, they're certainly very relevant, and they should be arrested. They definitely should be arrested. It will happen.
I mean, no trial or anything. These people don't deserve a trial. The thieves, out and out thieves, bragging about what they did wrong. Like the kids that go out and riot, and then they post themselves on the video showing what they brought home, and then they try to sell it the next day. And this is just crazy what's going on in this country.
It is, but it's intended to wake up the people. Sometimes it's painful. You cannot tell the people, you must show them. All right, thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
God bless.
All righty. God bless you. You've got a great show going. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to our next caller, and it's 7246. Are you there?
Yes, hello?
Yeah, we have
Can you hear
an
me?
echo. Can you? Yeah, we can hear you.
So I had a question on the Pfizer vaccine that Trump is talking about. Do you think he'll stop it before it actually gets a chance to be released into the public?
I think that anything that comes into the public domain as far as a vaccine goes will be safe and secure. He will not allow anything, the military will not allow anything to come in that is dangerous to the American people. However, when you think about the vaccine, it's important that you understand the psychological aspect. If the American people are aware there's a vaccine, and depending on its effectiveness and where it's coming from, just the fact that they're hearing there's a vaccine will allay a lot of fears and prevent sort of this shutdown and this lockdown of the economy again. And that's what the deep state is trying to do, is destroy this country and its economy. So and the vaccine is also code word for the U.S. military. So realize this is a multifaceted operation, more than just a vaccine. And it's important that everyone not take everything that comes out at face value. There's coded messages, and there's more to the story. Okay? All right, thank you. Thank you for your, God bless. Back to Maria Love. Do you have anything new?
I don't. But I do want to say one thing. Let's see. That Magical Waves, the website to buy the OmniMat, the face cream, matrix cream, and the C hologram is open. People can buy their products now.
Okay, great. Thanks for letting us know. So the Magical Waves website is now selling all of those products, and they are available now. Okay? So I'm just looking at the website, and you go to the Shop Now button on the front page, and you see that they all are for sale right now. So if you're interested in those products, we've been talking about those. They are available right now to purchase as of today. So this is the first day that we've noticed that they are available and that you can go and purchase those items online at the Magical Waves website. Thanks, Maria, for noticing that and letting us know. Okay, let me see if I can get back to my queue here. And we'll go to the next caller. And I'm going to see if I can get back here, and then we'll take another question. Let me check my email, and we'll see what's come in. Yes, so Jana, thank you. Sent me the Sidney Powell picture. Let's see. Bert has a question. Thank you for the call. Superb. House and Senate elections, looks like the GOP leading. How does the fraud impact them? Thank you. Well, of course, the fraud is they're trying to steal the House and the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. Georgia is kind of the ground zero for this right now, because Georgia has the 2 seats up for grabs, which they're still trying to resolve. And so, there's still a long way to go as far as settling what the Senate is going to end up. But I have full confidence that the Senate is going to stay in Republican, and I'm crossing my fingers that the House is going to flip to the Republicans. And, of course, President Trump will maintain his second term. And I think all of this will eventually be resolved, hopefully by the end of this year. Okay, let's go to another caller. 7398.
Hey, Scott. I read something. This is Chris. And
Hi, Chris.
I read something. Hey, I was reading something on Twitter. I didn't know if you saw this or not, but something saying that Newsmax announced that President Trump asked all registered voters in your household to send him a hard copy snail mail letter demanding all 50 states be audited. Send to Donald J. Trump, White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., 20500. And you know how sometimes people make up stuff and put it on Twitter, but have you heard, did you hear anything about that?
Yes, I've heard that circulating. I haven't been able to confirm that if that's legitimately real, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would think that we would have heard the president mention something like that. Did you ever hear anything from the president speaking directly to that letter?
No, I have not. That's the reason I was kind of hesitant. Just to, I'd do it in a heartbeat, but I'm kind of surprised he didn't just come out and ask himself.
Exactly. That's the way I felt about it, Chris. So I was waiting to see if there's confirmation on this. But it certainly sounds plausible. But Chris, I don't have any confirmation as of yet.
Okay. All right. Well, that was all I just wanted to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. God bless. All right, let's go to our next caller, 3413.
Hey, Scott. My name is Linda. How are you tonight?
Hi, Linda. How are you? You have a question?
Yes, sir, I do. I had seen a video by Dr. Christine Northrup, which is a pretty world-renowned author and medical doctor, about the vaccine, and her concerns were that the vaccine was made from RNA, which could change our DNA and have some pretty bad consequences. Have you heard that? I know you say if Trump says it's okay, that we are okay to take the vaccine, but I want to know your opinion.
I didn't say that. Let me clarify.
Okay.
On May 15th, 2020, President Trump held a press conference in the White House Rose Garden, and he introduced something called Operation Warp Speed. And the U.S. military was taking over all vaccines and all medical products coming into the U.S. Therefore, and he put a general in charge of it. Therefore, we can conclude that the military will not allow a harmful vaccine to come into this country and be distributed to the people. Now, this does not mean that some of these deep state companies, these drug companies, might try and pull a fast one. But I feel like the president now has taken control of the vaccines, just like he took control of the mask manufacturing, the ventilators. He's taken control of goods coming in from China now, that the military is on this. And I just have faith and confidence that the military is not going to allow a vaccine that is going to harm people to come into this country. Now, am I saying take the vaccine, or is President Trump saying take the vaccine? No. I would not take the vaccine no matter what, and I don't feel comfortable taking a vaccine, and President Trump has said it's an option. But there may also be therapeutics like what we've been hearing about, hydroxychloroquine and others that he talked about, what President Trump took at Walter Reed Medical Center. And so I think there's going to be far more therapeutics, and that you will not have to take a vaccine. And so I would be cautious about saying that President Trump is going to recommend taking a vaccine. No, I don't think it's going to go that far. But again, think about the psychological aspect of a vaccine and how it will calm the nerves of the American people. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
okay.
It does. Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. God bless. Okay, up next, let's go to 3768.
Hi, Scott. This is Elaine from Georgia.
Hi, Elaine. Hi, Elaine. Yes.
First of all, I want to thank you for Wednesday night and tonight's fantastic calls. They have just lifted spirits of a lot of folks, and and I know that I'm not the only one that appreciates what you all do so much. I don't know how many new people. You're welcome. I don't know how many new people you have on the calls. We had talked in the past about Janet Osbald's Fall of the Cabal. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned today in the voting not that this was a big picture we were looking at. It's really a fight of good against evil, not just getting President Trump in office. So anyone that watched that first series really learned a lot about that. But I'm not sure if anybody knows or seen that her second series has come out, the follow-up. Okay. And there's four parts to it so far. And this last one I had my family all look at tonight or during this week. And I'm telling you, Scott, it shows you right where we are with the cabal and the Illuminati and what they have planned for America right now. If there was ever something our folks ought to watch, it's that part 2. Series 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Elaine, give us the full title of it again.
Okay, her first one was Fall of Cabal. And her name is Janet, and it's Dutch, Osbald, Ossevevaard. Now the second series is the Series 2, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4.
And is Series 2 also called The Fall of the Cabal?
Series 2, yes. You can. In fact, I looked it up on Google in that way. It is on BitChute. YouTube has started putting them on, and but these 4 are fantastic in developing what we're seeing right now. And I just recommend it for everybody, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for your recommendation. God bless.
God bless you.
Okay, up next, 7866.
Hi, Scott. Good evening. It's Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Scott. I have a question about masks. I'm here in California, and we are totally fed up with wearing masks. We are totally fed up with no Thanksgiving, no Christmas. You have to have everything outside. You can't go to church, etc., etc. Is there any chance that there's going to be any help from Trump or the Supreme Court or anyone that will help us here in states, especially on the East or West Coast, that are just locked down and we can't do anything, especially mask wearing? Is there anything that's going to come our way to help that?
Well, I think once this election is decided, I think you're going to see a lot of this just kind of fade away. But until then, and that's the question is, when will that happen? Is this going to all go all the way till December 14th or beyond? And Marilyn, I just don't know when. But I would imagine that now that the deep state is losing, that they're going to lose the narrative of the people. People are not believing them anymore. And this is going to be the trend now, is that the fake news media is going to lose more and more and more credibility. So it's happening. I just don't know when you're going to see this flip. I know it's frustrating and exasperating, but I expect to see something happen by next month, I would say. Okay?
Okay, Scott. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you. Okay, up next, 6264.
Hello, Scott. Dan here from NorCal. How are you, sir?
Hey, Dan. Doing good. You have a question?
Yeah, you had mentioned at one point that President Trump is going to be using the National Emergency Airways to make a statement to the people and whatnot. And I think you also either just before or just after that, or at least in my mind, you did. We're tying it to...
Let me just stop you right there, Dan, just a second. he's not going to be making a statement. He's going to be putting out something on the EBS, which is the emergency message. He might put out a text, not necessarily something in an audio, but more like a text.
Okay. That's fine. That was really my point I was kind of building. So what I was wondering is, when the deep state gets exposed, I wonder if it might be somewhat a hint of mercy and also a good strategy if Trump went to all of the, the Patriots, us, go to the major lying newscast, the fake news media, it's been lying and all this time and whatnot, and say, to minimize your sentence or whatever, you need to tell the public that you have been lying to them, as opposed to dragging all of them out and then hearing it from someone else. That's going to cause riots. I mean, maybe my thinking is a little extreme, but it was just kind of a thought that passed through my mind. What are your thoughts should that come up as a scenario?
Well, I think a lot of these people have been talked to, and a lot of them have had to cut deals. But the Patriots want these Democrats and fake news media and these governors and mayors to act out in a way to expose themselves. And now people are less trustful of the media than ever before, and this will lead to their ultimate demise. So there are people that have cut deals and have like Nancy Pelosi, I believe, Robert Mueller cut a deal, Chuck Schumer, and others, and they're useful in exposing the truth to the people. And always remember, Dan, the most important aspect of this whole, remember, you're watching a movie, is to wake up the people. They have to be waking out of their programming. And California is one of the worst states in the world. People mind controlled, and there has to be a wake-up call. And unfortunately, it's going to be unpleasant for some people, but it has to happen. That's part of the Great Awakening. So realize that
we all can't wait.
But I think some of these media people are going to do a mea culpa on national television and say they've been controlled and been working for the deep state, and that will start an avalanche of disclosure. So I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of sort of the thinking that I was kind of aiming at. So yeah, that's it could go a couple of different ways or all the above. So anyway, look forward to it, and thanks for everything, Scott. God bless you.
Thank you, Dan. God bless you. Okay, let's go to Nebraska, 5133.
Hi, my name's Casey, and my husband Michael is here. He came in a little late, but we heard the gentleman's query a couple questions ago about the circulating letter to the White House, and
yes.
I guess both of you had said you hadn't really heard any confirmation, at least by him. I just wanted to share some information on that. There's an entity, their website is isr.solutions, and they are tracking that, and they have some sort of communication gateway on that. So the website is isr.solutions with an S.
Okay. All right, great. We'll check that out. And what was your name again?
My name's Casey, and my husband's name is Michael.
Okay, Casey, Michael, thank you for that information. We appreciate that. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
God bless. Okay, let's go back to our call line, and we'll go to 2209.
Yes, a little bit earlier, you guys were looking to verify about President Trump asking people to write in, and yes. I did get the message on the phone, and I have my letter written. It's going to be going out tomorrow, not only of how I feel, but things that I know for the people and stuff surrounding me, and I'm hoping to give him as much information as I could. And the address was President Donald J. Trump, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., 20500. So if anybody wants to write on the 2020 elections, that's the address you send it to.
Okay, what was your name?
Tina Gook, G-U-K.
Okay, Tina, thank you very much for that. We appreciate your information. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you. Okay, let's go. Maria Love, do you have anything else come in that you want to share with us for questions or text that you've gotten? And if so, do you have anything that we should be aware of?
Let's see, there is a text that came in from Betty P. And she wanted to know, does the hand recount in Georgia include the Senate and House as well as the President?
Oh, of course. It's the whole election. They review all the ballots. So when you vote for the President, you also vote for the Senate and the House. So yes, of course, all ballots, all of the, everything must be certified. The ballot itself must be legal. And as we've heard that the watermark on the ballot is what confirms it. Now, someone had written in and asked me to comment on the watermarks. And yes, we reported on that last Wednesday and the week before. The watermarks apparently are part of the process of validating legal ballots. And anything that's illegal doesn't have the watermark, which can only be seen under an infrared light. So absolutely, the Senate and the House are a big part of this. Okay? Okay, anything else, Maria?
Yes, Ross W. is mentioning, he wrote a text saying that The Fall of the Cabal is a 10-part series.
Okay,
and it's
great.
It's on BitChute.
Great, yes.
And let's see, there was one more thing. Oh, I received the email, text after text, about writing to President Trump. I think it's a great idea. But then I had three people looked into it and told me that it was actually not true. So that's just what I heard.
Okay, yeah. As I was discussing with Chris earlier, I haven't confirmed it either. So thank you, Maria, for that. Thanks. Okay, we'll go back to our queue. And let's go to our next caller. And it's 5806.
Hi, Scott. This is Tom from California.
Yes, Tom.
I was wondering, I sent it to you, I don't know if you saw it, about our governor, that he had a big party at the French Laundry restaurant, which is one of the world's great. So you did see it?
Yes.
How can they get away with this and make us abide to the rules and not them? There has to be some kind of...
Tom, this has been going on for decades. And this is what the Great Awakening is all about, is to expose all this. This is nothing new. This has been going on and on and on. And the rules are for the little people, not for the elites. They don't play by the rules.
We never had this situation, though, where you have to be locked up and you have to follow these rules like this. This is completely different than anything we've been through before. And,
of course it is. This is a global lockdown to bring on the New World Order, and it's going to fail. But this is their panic. They're panicked right now, and they're pushing this really hard. But it's not working, and it's all starting to be exposed. So just have faith. It will eventually you're going to see this completely collapse. Okay?
Sure. Yeah, I know. Were you surprised that they did use the QVS system? Because you didn't think they were going to use it, but now I guess maybe you didn't want to let the cat out of the bag or whatever, but that's huge. Charlie Ward, talked about
Charlie
it,
Ward,
and then
Charlie
also...
Smith and Jane Decoder, they all have said that I haven't been given any confirmation myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And I think it's great. That means they have the goods, okay? They have the evidence, which is fantastic.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for what you do, and I appreciate you.
All right, God bless. Okay, we'll take a few more callers here up until the closer to the top of the hour. 8994, you're up next. 8994, you there? Okay. We can't hear you. We'll go to 3314. Are you there?
Yes, I am. This is Carol from Kentucky, and nobody is really saying anything. Hi. Nobody is actually saying anything about California's fraud, and I wondered if that was going to be addressed. Because I think, weren't they influenced by the Chinese? Did something with their ballots, that sent a bunch of ballots to California for them to...
The Chinese flooded the entire country with ballots, fake ballots, not just California. And we've talked a lot about California, and Q has said, watch California. So eventually you're going to see California exposed, but first the national election. And then I believe it's going to center on these individual states. And like Washington, Oregon, Pennsylvania, California, New York State, and I think you're going to see some heads roll in those. But first the national election, and I think it'll be a domino effect. So all I can tell you, Carol, is just be patient.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. God bless. Okay, let's go to our queue. A few more callers here. 9009.
Yes, are you there, sir? Can you hear me?
We can barely hear you. Go ahead. What's your name?
This is Art from the other side of the state.
Hey, Art. Yeah, go ahead. We have a question?
Well, yes, sir. More of a comment, maybe a recommendation for folks, knowing now that, well, we know that this has all been determined in the spiritual, and we're bringing it into the natural now. And having said that, with all the, for lack of better words, upheaval that we can anticipate, myself, I've met with the Sheriff's Department and in the process of setting up an Overwatch, neighborhood Overwatch program that has not been active for years. So I'm meeting with those folks in that realm to be able to put that together, not necessarily at all as a militia, but just to have people's eyes open and head on a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend, if there's folks out there that are concerned as well, that they want to either see if there is an Overwatch for their neighborhood, if not, start one, and if there is one, join it, because the more people that are out there with their eyes open and looking and paying attention, the better we'll be if this situation were to continue into an escalating upheaval.
Okay. Well, thank you, Art. Thanks for the information.
You're welcome, sir. God bless you and have a great evening.
God bless. Thanks. Okay, we're going to go to our next caller, 2840.
Hi, Scott. This is Brenda from Alabama.
Hi, Brenda. Do you have a question?
Yes. Hi. Have not heard anything about the stimulus lately, so I was just wondering, due to everything with the voter fraud, would this be addressed after, January 20th or what?
Well, President Trump has said as soon as he's reelected, he's going to send out a second stimulus. Now, Maria, you were talking in the pre-call, and you were mentioning that you've heard that President Trump is going to be issuing $2,400. Is that something you want to talk about?
Well, I just wrote down just a brief amount of information. It was where they were supposed to have a stimulus check of $2,400, and still, after the 6 months after the election, they're still going to have the stimulus check of like $2,000, and I think they said they're going to be ongoing. So that's just what I heard from one person.
Okay, well, I've only heard $1,200 a month every month. So, Brenda, we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with this. But I know President Trump, as soon as he's reelected officially, you'll see a second stimulus check. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. God bless. Okay, let's go to 5890. You there? 5890? 5890? Okay. Let's go to back to our queue. And we're going to open up 6016.
Hi, Scott. It's Marcy in Utah.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi. I had a comment and a question. Comment regarding the hydroxychloroquine. If anyone wants to get the natural equivalent, it's called quercetin. Quercitin. Quercetin. And I looked it up. You can get it on Amazon. I have a uncle that's a naturopathic doctor, and I asked him, can you get me a prescription for this? And he said, no, but you can get he said the natural alternative to it is quercetin. My question, totally different subject. I came in late to the call. Did you mention anything about the RV or the global reset that I missed?
No, I really didn't discuss it because I really don't think it's worth discussing until the election is resolved. I don't see anything happening on that front until...
You haven't heard anything from your...
no.
Your higher gurus? Okay.
No, I have not as of yet. And I don't speak to gurus. I speak to real intel people. But
Sorry, I didn't know how to call them, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. All right. Let's go to 8808.
Hi, Scott.
Are you there?
This is Stephen and Ann here in Yelm, and I had a question about the results of the gubernatorial race here in Washington. I understand that the priority is the presidential, but do you have any idea how that might shake down with
my feeling is, my feeling is that Inslee definitely did not win. My feeling is that I think most of the states flipped to red, if not majority, if not all, maybe not all, but majority. I think that there's been compromised elections here in the state of Washington as on the whole entire West Coast. Now, when that'll be resolved or when that will be brought out is unclear at this time, but I think once the national election is settled, the focus will shift, as I said before, like dominoes to other states. And it's up to people in those states to question the results and say, we need a recount in this state as well. And so I think that's going to happen. I really can see that happening in a number of states that are controlled by Democrats.
Okay.
So that's where I'm seeing this play out. The Democrats are going to be exposed as fixing elections, and that will put the attention on individual states such as Washington. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks. Let's go to 8859. 8859.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Scott.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
this is Eve and Bob from North Carolina. Thank you so much for what you do.
You have a question, Eve?
Yes, I have. One thing I had was a statement. I don't know if you had covered it, but there was a story on the Gateway Pundit about the Dominion
software officer who is in charge of security, and he's got a doctorate from Berkeley, and he is a Antifa.
Yeah,
Huh?
I did discuss that earlier tonight, Eve.
Okay, well, I came in late.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I came in late, so
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
wanted
that's
to know that.
That's a
And
very
you
important.
just answered. You answered one of the other questions I had questions about, which is good. But one of the other things that I have questions about, there's a lot of companies that are owned by Chinese interests, which we know is CCP, like Costco.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Costco is. Are you there?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. These companies that are Chinese owned by the communist Chinese, are they going to take these, what's going to happen to them? Because Costco is one of them.
Okay. There's a reckoning coming for the Communist Party. And after this election is exposed and the coronavirus now is going to be fingered on the Chinese military, there's going to be a massive movement in this country to get China out of our country, to get the Communist Party out of, and I bet President Trump will issue an executive order or something will happen where no American companies can be owned by Chinese communists any longer. And I think you're going to see a purge of communist China from this country like you've never seen before, and that'll happen in President Trump's second term.
Good. And I hope they get them out of our schools because they're teaching children about communism. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yep. The backlash is going to be incredible. All right, Eve.
I'm excited. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you. 7189 is up next. 7189, are you there? 7189. You're on mute. Okay, we'll go to another caller. And let's go to 5809.
Yes. Hi, Scott. This is Helen in Illinois.
Hi, Helen.
Hi. I just wondered if you had gotten any word. Supposedly, John Ward is explaining that Jazeera was signed in on November 2nd. Can you confirm that, or do you know anything about it?
I was told it was October 1st. So that's when it officially came to the U.S.
Okay. All
right.
Look, Trump supposedly signed some papers on November 2nd. So
well, he may have. Yeah, Helen, he may have, but I haven't gotten any word on that. But I was told October 1st is when it officially came into the U.S.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wondered. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
I love your work.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless. Okay. Let's go to 8994.
Yes, hello, Scott.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I hear you. What's your name?
Chuck Sota. I've got about 45 texts this past week or 10 days from President Trump and his two sons asking for money. That it will be multiplied by 1,000%. Now, is this a fake or what is it?
No, it's all real. They're raising money for the legal defense of the election, just like they solicit money for the campaign. So no, it's all real, for sure.
Okay. Well, I didn't know, but I appreciate your answer.
Okay, Chuck. God bless. Thank you. All right. We're going to take a few more callers and call it a night here, folks. Let's go back to 7189. Are you there this time?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry about
Hello?
that thing. This is Daryl from Oregon.
Okay.
Hey, there was some discussion earlier about... Yes, I so appreciate what you're doing, sir.
You're welcome.
A lot, and a lot of people that I know. Anyway, there was some discussion earlier about sending a letter to the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There's an easier way to go over that. Just simply go to whitehouse.gov, and there's a place on there where you can send an email to the president himself. And I've done that, and I received a prompt reply. This is some time ago, but I checked it out.
Okay, now, Daryl, this is regarding auditing the 2020 election, right?
Well, yes. I don't know if he would give you any answers, but
I mean that's the email you sent regarding apparently the letter you're supposed to send is asking the president to audit the whole country, and is that the email that you were talking about?
And that's not the one I'm talking about, but I am going to send one like that. I've been, crossways with the IRS for a number of years, and I did email him on that and got a reply from him and Melania on White House stationery. That was all by email. But I would advise, instead of sending something in the mail, try this whitehouse.gov and send an email.
Okay, Daryl. Thank you for the recommendation. God bless.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, folks. A few more callers, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight. 11:47. Are you there? Yes.
Yes.
Who's this?
Scott, this is Steve from Nevada, and I was wondering.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. Do you have the latest on where you can buy foreign currency? The best way to buy foreign currency?
Well, apparently some Wells Fargo banks are still selling it, although not very many. And there's I guess it's the Great American Coin Company is another one that some of our listeners have recommended.
Great American Coin Company?
Yes. Great American Coin Company, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's one. I don't have any other sources. I've purchased mine through Amazon, and I've purchased through a specific dealer, but just make sure that if you go to Wells Fargo, you're going to get currency, but you're not going to be able to buy dinar or Zim. You can buy dong, Vietnamese dong, through Wells Fargo if they sell it. And some of the branches are no longer carrying that kind of currency. So it just depends on where you live and where you. So you just have to make a call to your Wells Fargo if you have that in your area first, or city.
You have to have an account, checking account with them before you can buy it from them.
If you have an account, they don't charge you a fee. If you don't have an account, they will charge you a fee.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'll check that out.
All right. Thank you. God bless, Steve. Okay. Let's go to the internet. You're up next.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. What's your name?
Great. All right. I'm Anitra.
Anitra,
Hi.
yes.
Hi, Scott. Okay. Yes. I'm calling from California. And I've noticed some of the callers that were on concerning, about what's going on here with our wearing this face mask and all the rules and things that we're under right now. Well, I've been deeply involved with a movement that's been going on here in California. Some people are starting to really catch on to it. That is because we know our rights. We already have a full group under. It's actually a group. It's called Life Force Watch. And that's just a matter of, getting into the app, downloading it, getting on there. And when you become a member of that, they have assemblies all over the place that are California assemblies from, all different parts of the state. But we are fighting. That's what we are for. We're assemblies that gather together. Everybody gets together and they fight. They have many affidavits and they are winning. So people are, we're going after that Gavin Newsom. We're going after him pretty good and we're winning. But I just encourage those that are, especially the California folks that are saying, where do we do? Of course, we got our president that's going to come through for us. I know everything's going to happen, but you don't always just wait for. You got to do something. You got to get up on your feet, move, do something.
What's the name of this organization again?
Yeah, so it's called Life Force Watch, And you can download Life Force Watch. You can download the app on your computer or your cell phone. And once you get in there, you start kind of looking for your assemblies. If you wish to join, you don't have to, but it's good to do that if you really have a purpose. You go into your assembly, which I'm in the California Assembly, and then California, they have different districts. They break it down to like Solano County, Sonoma County, from Southern Cal, from Northern Cal, you name them, they're all there. So we have meetings, and everything. But anyway, so that's what I suggest for those. Get on that Life Force Watch, get in there, and then go locate your assembly that you want to join, and guarantee those meetings are deep, and they are deep, and we do not back down. So
thank you very much for sharing that with us. God bless.
Absolutely, yes. God bless. Now,
good night. Okay, we've got a few more callers, and then we're going to close out our call tonight. 0842. So we're going to squeeze you in here. Keep it brief, please. You have a question?
I have a quick comment and a quick question.
What's your name?
This is Tara from Washington.
Go ahead, Tara.
I was on the phone with a friend, and she was giving me an update of Governor Inslee's announcement this morning about the state going back into lockdown. She said that once Inslee finished, J.T. Wilcox came on. He is our local representative for the state. He is the minority leader of the state, and she said that he had made a comment about getting an emergency session going with the Republicans. I think it's really important. I have his phone number if it's useful for people to have in order to call him or call your local assembly people and encourage them to please. What he's talking about doing is addressing the whole piece around the lockdown. So he's talking about an emergency session with the Republican assembly, representatives for the state of Washington to have an emergency session to address what Governor Inslee is doing with respect to the lockdown.
Okay, great. Thank you
His
for
phone
sharing.
number is 360-786-7912. 360-786-7912. And my quick question is if you have any information about Chinese troop movements, especially in Canada.
Yeah, we've discussed that before. The military is concerned about the Chinese coming in through the the Minnesota border and the Idaho and Washington border. And they're well aware of this, and they're monitoring it, and they are fully engaged in stopping that. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. 2621. We're going to squeeze you in
Scott.
here. Your name? Yes.
Scott, can you hear me? You hear me okay, Scott? Scott, this is Mustafa calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Scott,
Mustafa.
I just want to make a comment. Yes. Scott, there's a document, arrests and convictions, and I found it quite interesting that Boris Johnson's name was on there as one who was arrested and executed.
Mm-hmm.
Boris Johnson of the UK.
Yeah.
And then also
I've not confirmed Boris Johnson has indeed been arrested and executed. There's a lot of lists out there. I know that there's a lot of big names, but I haven't confirmed Boris Johnson as of yet, Mustafa.
Right. Okay, Scott, I was asking because, they were speaking very highly of Boris Johnson in the past, but now you're seeing all these turncoats coming out, and it was just mentioned, like I said again, his name was on that list that I had seen, and then I'm seeing all this activity where Boris Johnson is not so much the good guy.
Yeah, he certainly has initiated a lot of lockdowns in the UK, which is troubling, and he certainly has not been behaving very well lately. And so we have to wonder what's up with this guy. And plus, he congratulated Joe Biden on winning.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, Scott, one last thing. One last thing, Scott.
Out on Boris Johnson. The jury is out on Boris Johnson. Go ahead. Let's wrap it up.
One last thing, Scott. For those who may not know, when Sidney Powell made mention of releasing the Kraken, there's the movie called Wrath of the Titans.
Yes, that's correct. You're exactly right.
And they show the Kraken, and it's a horrible creature.
That's right.
So that's all I want to say, Scott.
Thank you, Mustafa.
Okay, thanks for taking my call. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. God bless. Okay, our final two callers. We're going to keep it quick here. We're going to go to 9385. Are you there?
Yes, hello. This is Steve from Lake George, New York.
Hi, Steve. You have a question?
Hi, Scott. Yeah, I wasn't able to get in, so I don't know if you spoke anything about the executive order that President Trump signed on September 12th, 2018.
I did discuss that, yes, in detail tonight.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
you did tonight? Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
I'll listen to the replay.
Listen to the recording, and you'll hear it on there, okay?
All right. Yes, I will. Thank you very much. Okay,
You're welcome. God bless. Okay, and finally here, our last caller who's been waiting. And we're on the internet.
Hi, Scott. This is Susan.
Hi. Hi, Susan.
I have two comments. The first one is on the email that was going around about writing to the president, saying that Newsmax had requested people to send letters to him. I had a friend call Newsmax, and he said that's a total scam. Newsmax never said that.
Okay.
And the second thing I wanted to comment on was the vaccine. Ticketmaster is thinking of requiring people that go to their concerts, have a certificate of being vaccinated.
Right. Yeah, Ticketmaster, who sells concert tickets, sporting events, now is requiring you to have a certificate of vaccination or something that proves you do not have the coronavirus. And it's just, it's Nazism. It's incredible. I would certainly not, I would not patronize Ticketmaster as a result of that. Yes, Susan, that's a good thing.
We have tickets left over from last year to see Maroon 5, and it was canceled. So we're supposed to see them next year in Little Rock.
Good luck.
Yeah,
you might change your mind if you have to have a certificate to attend a concert, for Pete's sake.
That's right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless, Susan. I'll finish up with this. Billy writes in and says, someone has said there is going to be a shutdown tomorrow night at midnight. Have you heard? No, I have not heard anything regarding a shutdown tomorrow night, but of course the rumors are there. Hugh has warned us about this, and there is at some point going to be a social media purge. Just so you know. Janet writes in and says, for those interested in Diamond and Silk, they have a show on Newsmax now. The show is on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. on the Newsmax channel, Comcast channel 1115. Thank you, Janet. Okay, and the question here, Charlotte. Okay, the iGuard is not listed for sale. No, the iGuard is not for sale on the website. However, if you are interested in an iGuard and you cannot purchase it through the Magical Waves website, you can send me an email and I'll forward it on to Magical Waves for you. I'm sorry it's not available. We just had too much trouble from government agencies, and so everything else is available from the website, but the iGuard you must purchase with a check. And if you're interested, just write to me, let me know if you want an iGuard, and I'll forward that on to Magical Waves. All right, so that's going to wrap up our program for tonight, and we're going to say thank you for joining us. I apologize about the Jesse Waters clip. I'll bring that up for you on Wednesday. that I wanted to play tonight. And thank you for attending our conference call tonight for Sunday, November 15th. We'll be back with you on Wednesday, which is the 18th, for our next edition of the Miracles Intel call.